Okay. Saints beat Tampa Bay. Pelicans played a few games. Yeah, more about that coming up. Okay. Welcome to this episode of Cajun Connection, episode 18. We've been doing this for 18 weeks.
Progress.
I am your host, John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
As you can see, we're doing video. Yay!
Hey. You stop.
Okay. So yeah, we're gonna start doing video from now on out. We'll be uploading to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that will still be the typical podcast format. But if you want to see our mugs each week, check us out on YouTube.
I know y'all want to see this face though. I gotta get a haircut. I gotta get cleaned up. But
anyway, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, 28-14. It was 14-3 at the half.
Well, I mean,
in favor of Tampa Bay.
It was. I mean, first half was very frustrating, and when I watched the first half of that game, I was just like, well, looks like it's going to be Dallas game part 2. But I saw the Saints really turn over a new leaf. I mean, it was a performance that the Saints really needed in the second half. And you could tell, I mean, the Saints were completely sluggish in the first half. They couldn't get anything. They had like 0 rush yards in the first half.
I know. It's like the first half, they couldn't run the ball. And when they started going backwards, I want to say that second possession, and then they hit Kamara like the 2-yard line. It was like.
And not only that, Drew Brees had a hard time getting the ball to his receivers. Had a hard time creating separation. I mean, he got picked off on a screen that was read masterful by that Buccaneers defense.
You know, and that's another thing. You're talking about his receivers having a hard time creating separation. That just goes to tell me that they do need to get Brandon Marshall on the field. They
have to.
They need to get a second experienced receiver on that field come playoff time.
Like they have to have him. I would say put him on the field next Monday against Carolina. They're going against a very tough Carolina defense, a Carolina team that is extremely desperate for a win, and this could be a win that could really keep them in playoff contention.
Because I'm starting to realize just how young that receiving core is. It's almost like the opposite of the defensive problem last year. You had the young secondary. Now you got a young receiving core.
You got Traquan Smith, Keith Kirkwood, Austin Carr. Now you have Michael Thomas. He's the most experienced, but he's still young. He's only in his third season.
Yes, his third year. But I think they're hoping to get Ted Ginn back, which would help.
That would be a huge help for our offense.
But if you want to make a Super Bowl run, I don't think you want to go into the playoffs with your most experienced player being Michael Thomas.
No, I mean, like I said in the last show, playoffs is a whole different experience. It's a whole different, atmosphere to where anything can happen.
And you look at it, and oddly enough, the more we get into the season, the more excited I become for next season. Because obviously the season is not done, and the Saints are obviously a favorite for the Super Bowl. Why wouldn't they be? They're 11-2, high-powered offense, but they're very young in that receiving core, and that just kind of concerns me when it comes playoff time now.
But what impressed me the most was how the defense put the team on their backs this past Sunday. I mean, the offense was able to get points on the board. Mark Ingram ran very well in the second half. Drew Brees was a lot better in the second half. But the reason why is because of how their defense played, how they were able to get to Jameis Winston, how they were able to force 3 and outs, how Taysom Hill got that blocked punt. But not only that,
that was probably the momentum swinger there.
But here's where the Saints dominated. It was the field position. I saw how the Saints were starting on their own 40, 45-yard line almost every single drive because their defense were able to make stops. They were able to get to Jameis Winston, and the offense were able to work with short fields. And that's how the Saints were able to be successful, outscoring Tampa Bay 25-0 in the second half.
Yeah. And really, and that's kind of why I'm so excited for next year is look, one of the things that has happened this year is that you have had Sheldon Rankins and David Amiata, they're having breakout seasons, like really, truly breakout seasons.
And that DeMario Davis has proved to be an amazing pickup from the free agency.
And another player that is having a breakout year, who would have thunk it, is P.J. Williams.
P.J. Williams, I mean, he's picked up his consistency.
Yeah, he's playing consistent now. He's turning into a really good, shutdown corner out of the slot.
Also, what impressed me the most about that game was the performance of Marshawn Lattimore against Mike Evans. If you look at Week 1 with the Buccaneers and Saints, Marshawn Lattimore got completely torched by Mike Evans.
That's putting it nicely.
And I mean, Marshawn Lattimore held Mike Evans to how many catches? What, 1, 2 catches?
It was
four catches. 4 catches for 86 yards.
Right.
Versus Week 1, I mean, Mike Evans, how many catches he had Week 1? Like 10, 11 catches maybe?
Something like that. I don't know. It was a significant difference between this past game and the first one.
I mean, I could even go back to it and, tell y'all, but I mean, it was an ugly game. But
I continue on my train of thought is you have Rankins and Amiata having breakout years. PJ Williams is having a breakout year. We've seen flashes of what Marcus Davenport can offer.
With time and experience, he will definitely be much more deadly.
Like you said, DeMario Davis adds a dimension to what was already a pretty respectable linebacking core last year, and just a level of dominance that hasn't been there since Jonathan Vilma. Really,
I wish the Saints would have just kept Nate Stupar as well, though. I wish we would have kept him.
Really? You think they're missing Nate Stupar?
I wouldn't say they're missing Nate Stupar, but I feel he would have been another formidable addition to the defense. I mean, we're not missing him, but I feel that the Saints should have kept him. Honestly,
okay, fair enough.
I feel he would have been a pretty good addition to that defense.
On the offensive side of the ball, and I'll say the Saints are going to get Patrick Robinson back to start next year. On the offensive side of the ball, obviously you have Mike Thomas and Alvin Kamara, who are both really strong receiving threats. But I mean, we've already seen Traquan Smith have a few hundred receiving yard games this year, so we know he has a potential to be big playmaker, which would just if they can develop a second superstar opposite of Mike Thomas, that would just be phenomenal.
Our offensive line as well. Don't forget about the O-line.
Yeah, the O-line's a given. I'm just kind of going over the progression of the Saints that I'm seeing this year and where it can lead towards next year. And now you have the curiosity of Keith Kurtwood. It's like, okay, you've seen this guy make a few big plays. How good can this guy be?
He's proven his worth this season as far as where his place on the roster, where he should be. Like, he proved that he no longer belongs on the practice squad. He should be on that field every Sunday, and we're definitely going to see a lot more of him going into next season.
And you can't discount Austin Carr. Austin Carr.
We've seen a few shades of what he's capable of as well.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's like they got a lot of promise on that team. That as good as they are this year, they should just be that much better next year. Experience and time is only going to make this team better.
I mean, well, how do you think they're going to adjust after Drew Brees leaves?
That is a big question.
They got Teddy Bridgewater on the roster, and they also got Taysom Hill. But
Taysom Hill is not going to be the Drew Brees replacement.
So you think Teddy Bridgewater could be?
Right now, I don't see another option. They didn't draft nobody.
I mean, unless they go ahead and get a quarterback in this year's draft, maybe.
Which they got a second round pick in the first 4 rounds, so I don't see a Breeze replacement dropping to the second round.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, that's something you will have to wait until maybe the 2020 draft and make a first round pick, because it's obvious if they don't get a quarterback in this year's draft, which they're probably not going to get a quarterback in this year's draft. Definitely look for the Saints going for a quarterback in the first round of the 2020 draft. No doubt about it.
But Bridgewater is kind of the option right now. Unless you want to wait and see who hits free agency, which I don't. Especially after this past year where you had a run on free agent quarterbacks and none of them are doing particularly well.
I mean, I feel that, say in the free agency, say if Bridgewater doesn't stay with the Saints, and I feel a good landing spot for him would be Washington. Alex Smith, he's out and his career is probably over. He suffered an infection in his leg.
So what are you saying, Josh Johnson isn't the future for Washington?
It all depends on how the season goes. It all depends on how free agency goes. You got to factor in. You got to take those factors to consideration. Teddy Bridgewater, I feel he still has the ability to be a good starting quarterback in this league.
Because there really isn't a top tier quarterback hitting free agency that the Saints have any realistic chance of getting. And after last year, Kirk Cousins doing kind of meh in Minnesota. Case Keenum again meh in Denver.
We would need like a young quarterback, somebody that Sean Payton can teach, somebody Sean Payton can groom.
I kind of feel like the Saints really wanted Lamar Jackson.
Oh, no doubt about it. I wouldn't have been surprised if the Saints would have gotten Lamar Jackson. But, the Saints traded up, because Mickey Loomis wanted to add more weapons on that defense. And so he traded up to get Marcus Davenport.
Which, I'm liking that pick so far.
Oh, I'm loving it. And he's only going to get better with time.
Yeah, he's had some pretty solid games this year. And he's a rookie, so you're not expecting dominating consistency right off the bat, but we have seen what he could become, and it was really good.
Also, a guy I've actually been impressed with this season at linebacker is Alex Anzalone, who has really come up impressive. Last season he had to miss all of last season because of an injury after being injured week 1 against Minnesota, but he really came back and he's really came up big for that Saints defense, especially this season. It seems that almost every game we've seen him make big plays for that defense.
Right.
And yeah, he still has some room for improvement like every player does, but he's going to also get better with time and experience.
Yeah. This is a very young team with nothing but upside right now. The biggest question is who's going to replace Drew Brees. I think, next year I think is more than likely Drew Brees' last year.
Honestly, I don't think nobody can replace Drew Brees. It's just somebody who can keep a dynasty going, somebody who can keep up the era of dominance for the New Orleans Saints.
Well, you got to look at it this way also. So this upcoming offseason, the only big name person on their team that they have to resign is Mark Ingram. I think they have to kind of look at some of their linebackers. I think A.J. Klein signed a 2-year contract, so you have to decide if you want to keep Klein for how much.
But it's safe to say that Mark Ingram's probably going to be looking for a max deal maybe.
Which I don't see. I
don't see it happening.
I wouldn't give him a max deal. He is, 28 now?
He is.
I
would say
the best thing about Mark Ingram, when you have to take into consideration his age and the fact that he will be hitting 30 soon, is that unlike, say, someone like Adrian Peterson, who is still a very effective running back
at 33 years
old, is Mark Ingram didn't have a lot of carries in his first 4 years in the league. I want to say, especially his first 2 for sure. I don't think he really started getting any real carries until his 4th season.
Yes, So when you look at his age, the durability, he still has more than enough durability to last into his 30s. So, it kind of answers the question. Could he possibly be looking for a max deal?
I don't know. If I were the Saints, I wouldn't sign him to more than 3 or 4 years.
That sounds reasonable, but how much money would you say? Anywhere between 50 and 60 million?
I don't know if that much.
If you want to keep Mark Ingram, if you want to look at maybe 3 to 4 years, you need to kind of start looking at along the basis of anywhere between 35 to about maybe 50, 60 million in that range, which is a wide range, but still, the the Vikings signed Kirk Cousins to 3 years, $84 million, and Sam Bradford was signed for 1 year, $20 million before getting released by the Cardinals. So, I mean, there's really no limit to, how much you can sign somebody for the years and then the money. So that's why I put up a wide range, like a guesstimate of how much the Saints can sign Mark Ingram for to keep him in New Orleans.
Well, and that's the big question is how much you want to spend on Mark Ingram, because the Saints' window is right now. Because, like I said, because after next year, starting in 2020 offseason, you're going to have to start having to pay some of these young players, because I want to say Sheldon Rankins and David Amiata will be ready to be signed that year. I want to say, I don't know. When was Thomas drafted?
This Michael Thomas' third season, so he's
so
due
2020.
He's due for an extension.
It depends on whether or not some of these younger players start wanting to opt out of their rookie contracts and get paid sooner than later. It really comes down. It's like how you're gonna ask yourself, okay, you get all these guys who are gonna want to get paid. Well, how long do you want to ride this train of having this Super Bowl contending quality team?
I mean, you gotta be willing to give up the money, and then it comes a time, because Tom Benson, he wasn't that good with the salary cap. He wasn't really that good with his money because they lost a lot of players in the process. I mean, when they had that Super Bowl team in 2009, they realized how much money they had to come out in order to maintain that team. Like, they lost guys like Roman Harper. They lost guys like Malcolm Jenkins, losing guys like Marcus Colston, Pierre Thomas. And, the money adds up, and you see these guys demanding so much money. And that's just the nature of the beast in this business.
You're going to have to, Thomas is going to want to have to get paid. Kamara's going to want to have to get paid. Lattimore, he's going to want to get paid. All these guys are want to get paid down the road. Honestly, if you want to keep the majority of them,
then you're going to have to make some sacrifices and free up some space.
Honestly, and I think that's what is ultimately going to end up pushing Brees out the door.
Well, Drew Brees, he's probably going to decide to retire. After his 2-year, $50 million deal is up. Because he's 39 years old, he's getting ready to turn 40 pretty soon. So, he's probably going to retire on his own merit, on his own accord. So, I don't really think...
I hope that's what happens, because I don't want to see the Saints have to push him out the door because he costs too much.
Exactly. I'm not going to want to see Drew Brees because Drew Brees said he wants to retire as a New Orleans Saint. But, I also did hear Drew Brees say that he can play up to he's 45 years old.
Well, so did Brady, and Brady's falling off, obviously.
Exactly.
So,
but with Drew Brees, I honestly do not see him hitting that age fall off. Probably, if he's still in the league, I'll probably start seeing that age drop off by the time he's like 43, if he's still playing.
Yeah.
But, I don't see Drew Brees going to that team. I think he'll probably rather retire than demanding so much more money. But, I think that if Drew Brees does want to stay in New Orleans, after his 2-year deal is up, I think if the Saints want to keep him and the Saints want to keep the rest of their players and they want to make some room, it's time that we start thinking about maybe franchise tagging. Franchise tag would probably be a reasonable method if you want to keep all your players.
Well, you get to franchise tag somebody, and they're not going to like it.
Oh, yeah, franchise tag. Like Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's allergy season, y'all.
Yeah. Le'Veon Bell sat out the entire season, and, apparently he celebrated the Steelers' loss last night.
Oh, it's obvious. And then, did you see how they rated his locker after he chose not to show up?
Yeah.
They completely rated his locker. So, if I'm Le'Veon Bell, it's time we kind of look within the division to see who needs a running back.
Baltimore.
How about, well, I would say Cleveland, but Cleveland got Nick Chubb, and he's probably going to be the future of that rushing attack. He's most likely going to be the future of that rushing attack in Cleveland. But I would say Baltimore. They got Alex Collins, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of consistency out of him. But I think if Le'Veon Bell wants to be super petty, go see John Harbaugh and go ahead and go to Baltimore. That way, the Steelers got to see you twice a year. Yeah. Because I think Baltimore would be willing to pay him.
Okay, shifting gears. I think we talked Saints enough.
For like 20 minutes.
Almost 20 minutes, yeah.
Now it's 20 minutes.
Pelicans.
No consistency at all. Just so inconsistent.
Yeah, when you consider, and just look how much talent they got on the team, and that's the most confusing thing is they're loaded, yet they're 500 at best.
I mean, you gotta look at this. I mean, you got a lot of guys that's trying to adjust to the new system. I mean, Elfrid Payton, Julius Randle. I mean, Julius Randle, he's broken out in the past few games. I mean, putting up a career high 37 against LA, putting up over 30 against Dallas. I mean, we're starting to see, his true potential. But I think it's just growing pains. I mean, you have a lot of new guys on this team trying to adjust to the system. And I feel that this team is still trying to build chemistry with each other. And I feel we're going to see some improvement going, as far as after the All-Star break. I think we're going to really start seeing, kind of like a shift, kind of like how it was last season.
Well, so you're still leaning towards a takeoff point.
Yes, I believe there will be a takeoff point because the Pelicans, they were barely in 8th place last season before the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, they just completely went off. They kind of hit that drop off towards the end, which resulted in them being a 6th seed. But I do see them hitting a takeoff point with the talent they have. I feel that they are going to build the chemistry that they want. Alvin Gentry is going to have them all on the same sheet of music every night. And I feel they will hit that takeoff point. But right now, they're still trying to kind of find their identity as a team.
Very much so, because I constantly see stuff like, okay, so Holiday scores 37, yet they lose. Davis scores 41, but they lose.
Oh, that's no surprise. I mean, that happens quite a bit with the Pelicans. But I mean, honestly, one thing I do want to happen is those trade rumors about Anthony Davis being laid to rest. I feel that if you're another team trying to pursue Anthony Davis, then y'all need to be a little more flexible with your thinking. I'm talking, if you want us to give Anthony Davis, who is the face of our franchise, you might want to give up a couple of your stars. So,
Kyrie Irving joins the Pelicans.
Damn right. Or, how about, a guy like Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz, or somebody like, I don't know, I won't say DeAndre Ayton from the Phoenix Suns. He's young. Or how about the big cat, Karl Anthony Towns, joins the Pelicans or something like that? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's kind of more fantasy talk at this point. Though stranger things have happened. So.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of strange things happen. When LeBron hit free agency, I wanted the Pelicans to get LeBron, but then I had come to realization, oh wait, we don't have enough money because Benson's so bad with his money, we couldn't give LeBron that type of money. So
I know you sit there and
But just imagine, like
6 points a game is apparently worth $2 million a year.
Wait, who's doing that?
What was it? Solomon?
Oh. Well, he getting paid. He's getting paid. I mean, I'm not gonna knock him, but I mean, let's do a what if for a quick minute. Just imagine if the Pelicans would have kept Boogie, and the Pelicans, just for some odd reason, would have had enough money to sign LeBron James. Just imagine Boogie, Bron, AD. We could be looking at probably the dangerous Cerberus in the league.
Mm-hmm.
We could be looking at the NBA's resident 3-headed monster. But that's just fantasy. That's something that I would have to go to bed and just channel my dreams about.
Yeah, well, then I had to wait for NBA 2K.
Yeah, I mean, I actually got the game right now. I can go ahead and play that fantasy when I get home.
Do it.
I probably will. I'll let you know how it goes.
All right. I like some of that fantasy stuff myself. Lead the Southern Jaguars to a national title.
Yeah, it's just like, oh my goodness, the Pelicans just won the NBA Finals. Then I turned the game off.
Southern
Jags got transferred to the FBS, and they won the national title, turning the tables on everybody. Then I turned the game off. All right, let's go on TV. Oh, Alabama wins the national title again. Oh, wow, goody.
In the old NCAA days, I used to lead the Raging Cajuns to an SEC title and win the national champs.
See, they need to bring NCAA. They need to bring it back. But I heard they're bringing Gridiron Champions back in 2020. But it's not going to have the your LSU and Notre Dame. It's basically made up colleges. It's basically to where you can make the game your own, and that's what I actually like about it. And that's actually made me attracted to the game. Now, if they can update the equipment on there, if they can go ahead and get the equipment done right to where you have the Speed Revolution helmets and you have all the the gloves, sleeves, and all that. If you can get to that point, and also if you make the career version a little realistic, we have ourselves a game.
All right. So, okay, what do you think about the Tiger basketball?
Well, they got back to their winning ways after slashing through UIW, Incarnate Word, for those who may not know, 91-50.
I mean, it was Incarnate Word.
Incarnate Word, for those who didn't, for those who didn't know.
Well, I know, but 40-point win is not too surprising against
Incarnate Word. I mean, of course. Incarnate Word from the Southland. I mean, of course. But then again, McNeese went up against Mississippi State and only lost by 13.
True. Still, that is still a slightly, somewhat better division that they come out of.
And and what I saw a disturbing trend of the SEC basketball. A couple games going down to the wire. Kentucky losing to Seton Hall 84-83. Arkansas losing to Western Kentucky on the final shot. South Carolina on a complete downhill spiral. They got beaten by Wofford, I believe, and then they lose to Michigan after starting off pretty good. Florida went down to the wire with Michigan State. We're starting to see some entertaining basketball this season.
Yeah. So you think the Tigers are ready for SEC play?
They still got a lot of room for improvement if they want to survive in the SEC, because you got to look at the teams that are in the SEC. Tennessee just knocked off Gonzaga. Tennessee's probably, right now, my front runner to win the SEC would be Tennessee. It'll be a toss-up between Tennessee and Auburn. Kentucky, they still got room for improvement if they want to win the SEC. Kentucky, they got into, a war with UNC Greensboro until they pulled away in the final couple minutes. So, it's really anybody's game. But if LSU really wants to compete in the SEC, they got to put their best foot forward every single practice, every single game, because the SEC is getting more competitive as far as basketball is concerned.
So Tennessee, huh?
Tennessee beat Gonzaga.
Well, Gonzaga doesn't do too good in the pressure of the number one spot.
Yeah, that's true. I don't really see Gonzaga going so far in the NCAA tournament. Hell, I remember back when Gonzaga had Kelly Olynyk, and very first round, they barely beat Southern. So, I remember that year, Southern went in there and almost beat Gonzaga, and then the second round, Gonzaga loses. Southern completely exposed them.
Remember the Adam Morris days?
Oh wow, the Gonzaga, that was one of the hottest shooting teams in the country. They were probably the hottest shooting team. Adam Morrison was a complete beast, but went to the NBA and became a complete bust.
Yeah. Well, at least he won the championship.
True.
Something he couldn't do at the college level.
True, but we digress. This is Louisiana sports.
Yeah. A little bit of relevance.
Yeah, a little bit of relevance, a little bit. But yeah, LSU basketball, they were sitting at 7-2. They're in a good spot. They just got to keep improving. They got a really young team. Their team is completely young. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they, flop in SEC play.
You want to talk about a young LSU team? Yeah, they are young. But at the same time, if Will Wade is as good as he seems to be at recruiting, I think we're going to start seeing an increase in a lot of one-and-dones at LSU.
Yeah, you look at the one-and-dones like that came in Kentucky, which was, a whole lot of them every year. Duke is about to, get back to the one-and-dones as well. They had a one-and-done Marvin Bagley last season, but I feel like we're about to see that peak go up again in one-and-dones. Mm-hmm. But, LSU is starting to raise their market, and this season for LSU is important considering it's Will Wade's second season, and he wants to continue to build the market for their recruiting. So this season is completely important for LSU. If they can become a contender for the SEC title and make a run in the NCAA tournament, that can really raise their stock as far as recruiting.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's done he's done good at recruiting so far. I mean, there was some rumors surrounding his recruiting techniques, but it doesn't look like anything's going to really come out of that.
Trust me, if NCAA doesn't want you to win, they will get the FBI involved. I promise you that. Look at Arizona. And I think Arizona still won their conference last season. Just saying. Though they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, they still won their conference.
All right, that's about all we got time for, so cutting it pretty close here. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Cajun Connection. I'm John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
You can find us online at Twitter, AI Sports 3. We're on Facebook, on YouTube, AI Sports Network, and AISportsNetwork.com. Signing out.
Love y'all.